With 2 outs, J.J. Moran takes down sophomore infielder playing third base today. David Esker called him the most improved player on the Stanford lineup over the tail end of his summer ball campaign in the Northwoods League to early on in his sophomore slate. That's high. Throw back to first. Gian is in there. Control has been a problem with Louisville starters so far this year. You've seen a lot of pitches either get spiked, missing arm side high. What have you seen with Danielevich fastball early on?
He's working it well. He's working it really well. He's finding the spots that he wants to work in. And I think that's the most important part when you have a pitch mix and a curveball like that you can mix in to your selection. Leaning on that fastball and the way it rises up can be so difficult for hitters to catch up to. But I like the way he's working it right now. I like the way he's using it to throw batters off.
That's outside. Moran's in the driver's seat. 3 balls in the strike. If you were the reach base, Brady Reynolds would have a chance to hit with 2 gone. Where do you feel like this 3-1 has to go right here?
Well, you can't put him on base, of course, but you got to put it somewhere where you're going to force a swing out of Moran. Maybe outside.
Waves and misses on a breaking ball. Delayed steal to second. Gian is caught between first and second, and he's tagged out by Davis. A crucial base running error. Gian tried to get in the rundown long enough to get Tokheim to score. Did not cross home plate before the tag, and Louisville escapes a jam in the first.
Heads up here by the Louisville defense. Stanford threatening early. Louisville defense shutting it down.
And done. A complete list of reasons why the ACC is great.
You forgot ACC game days.
And football. Yes.
Hoops. Oh, I was gonna say hoops.
Every sport, really. I see.
From East Coast to West.
Precisely. One at a time.
No one can touch us.
Slow down.
Y'all, it's us. We all make the ACC great.
Lacrosse.
And football.
And hoops.
We're all attractive.
And we're smart. Lacrosse. Swimming.
Baseball.
We're gonna need a bigger board.
What about fencing? Volleyball. We got them all.
Smile so big that your eyes can go back in your face. Laugh so loud you can hear it from outer space. I really wanna talk to you. I really wanna know you. I really wanna talk to you. I really wanna. Really wanna talk to you. I really wanna.
2 outs, caught between first and second, trying to get in the rundown long enough. Teddy Tokheim did not cross home before the tag, and Louisville gets out of a jam with 2 on and 2 outs in the top of the first. And that sends the Cardinals' high-powered offense to the plate for the first time this series. Tank Davis gets a lot of national attention, but how has Byram Hott quietly increased his pro profile this season?
Well, he's just been so consistent. He looks like he has matured so much. And we were talking about it before the show today, Casey, the leap that some guys make between their junior and their senior season. You know, most guys might hit that pro-ready level or draft-ready level in their junior season, but Byram Hott has not taken his foot off the gas. He is learning more about himself every day, and he has been amazing for this Louisville lineup all season.
Well, something that hasn't been amazing for Stanford has been David Esker's production from his starting pitching. Due to injuries and a lot of players down with bugs, he's adopted that bullpen approach for each of 3 games in series. Quinton Marsh, not a starter, but more of the opener entering this weekend. What's his complexion need to look like?
Yeah, he's getting thrown into the starting role. We've talked about how Dan Alevich used to spend a lot of time coming out of the bullpen, now in a starter role. So you just got to understand it's a different situation. You're starting off the game. You don't have to come out of the bullpen and clean up any mess. It's typically the job of a bullpen pitcher. When you start clean, you can keep it clean, but you got to be in control.
Griffin Crane squares, takes down. Number 6 at the plate has led off in 6 consecutive games for Dan McDonald's Cardinals. A lineup that's shifted gears and has moved around parts all year. Attempting to get that perfect complexion and mix 1 through 9, and so far he's liked what he's seen from Crane, especially after his weekend in Durham last week against Duke. Went 5 for 12 at the plate. 2-2.
He cooled off a bit in that UNC series. Picked it right back up, though, in that Duke series, like you mentioned.
Here's the payoff. Crane sprays it left field. That finds turf, base hit. His 5-game hit streak came to an end against Kentucky a few days ago. He starts up a new one to begin the Louisville half of the first. Crane's aboard to start this first frame, and he gives way to Lucas Moore, who has been known as a table setter over his time with Louisville. This year, a bit of a different complexion, moving around the lineup, hitting second today. All one outside to the All-American center fielder.
And I love the idea there. It's a bunt with Crane getting on base. You mentioned that Lucas Moore is a table setter. Well, when you have a guy like Crane, who is one of the best in the ACC at getting on base, you can get him on first, and then you can play a couple different games with Lucas Moore and the group that follows.
Not quite the year that Moore would have expected, following up his second-team All-American accolades from last year. Average has been below 300 since the start of conference action. Well, he talked to Dan McDonald about what Moore's still been able to do. Playing sound defense in center field has provided the threat. And although he hasn't had the numbers to back up what people expect of him, providing the threat at the top of the order of doing something at any given moment.
And he's up there for a reason. You just see how disciplined he is. The way he sees every single pitch enter the strike zone or near it, and he just reads it the entire way into the catcher's glove. And that's a good pitch that most guys might swing at, but not Lucas Moore.
We alluded to Stanford being inactive on the base paths in that top of the first. Not the case for Louisville offensively. Routinely some of the top base stealers in the country. There goes Crane. Moore trampolines at right side. Marsh off the mound, shovels to first, and it's not in time. Moore legs it out. Showcasing that speed out of the box. Back-to-back hits begin the Louisville first.
I mean, who other than Lucas Moore is beating this out, right? I mean, that has the action of a bunt, though he takes a full swing and just busts it down the line. You can see him, the helmet almost coming off of his head, the entire dugout making their call, but the official one being Louisville threatening, much like Stanford did.
One All-American is aboard, handing the baton off to another All-American in Zion Rose. He takes outside. Has been dealing with injuries all throughout the course of his junior year. A hamstring strain and an ankle injury. Forced him to miss most of his third year of college baseball. Grounds it hard. Left side, past Moran into the outfield. Crane from second gets the wave home, and Louisville strikes first to begin the series. Rose gets it done.
This is what it looks like in the mind of Louisville's head coach, Dan McDonnell, getting the guys like Lucas Moore and Griffin Crane in scoring position, having guys like Zion Rose and now Tate Davis stepping up who can ultimately bring them in. This is what Louisville is capable of, striking early and making pitchers work hard to get out of early innings.
Third consecutive All-American to step to the plate. Arguably the best hitter in the country, according to his head coach, Dan McDonnell. Had a chance to talk with us earlier in the day. He had said there's no other hitter in the country I would rather have penciled in the cleanup spot than Tate Davis. And the numbers have definitely backed that up. Country's leader in RBI, conference leader in home runs, is in the driver's seat. 2 balls and no strikes against Marsh. Do you even bother 3-0 to give him something to try to hit?
Absolutely not. He has the greenest light of all green lights, and with these ranks right here, I would say maybe you just live giving Tate Davis first base.
Davis takes 87 for a called strike. (3-1). Big hack to the fences out in right field. Counts full.
Got this battle back here from Marsh. One of the best hitters, talking about where he should go to get back. Well, now he's done it. Count runs full.
That's down. Davis works a walk. Louisville's got a 1-run lead and the bases loaded before an out's on the board. And a very quick meeting to the mound to talk things over with the freshman southpaw. Pitching coach Thomas Yeager is out there. Colt Peterson immediately getting loose in that left field bullpen for Stanford. When we talked to David Esker earlier in the week, he had alluded to the complexion of his pitching staff this year as if he's pitching in Game 7 of a World Series. Very short leashes for everybody, very close to the chest, having guys in opener, reliever, and then closing roles. So not really getting a lot of length from guys. You would want to expect at least this first inning to go without any problems, but that hasn't been the case so far for Marsh.
Yeah, you'd like him to get a little more length out of some of his starters, and Marsh now battling arguably the toughest situation. Bases loaded, nobody out. But Coach Esker is ready to make the call to his bullpen, and he's familiar with playing that bullpen game.
Byram Hott grounds it to third. Moran, Stagg steps on the bag, throw the first, scooped up by Sasaki to complete the double play. Moore scores, but an absolute gift for the Cardinal to get 2 outs on a spectacular play at third for Moran.
Great job here by Moran, keeping this one in the infield. Saves more than just 1 run, calmly steps on third, fires it over to first, and a great pick there by Sasaki to convert the double play. And I think both sides are going to live just fine with that outcome. As you mentioned, Casey, a run does score, but 2 big outs for Stanford.
A converted reserve middle infielder, J.J. Moran from last year, turned everyday starting third baseman for the Card. Speaking of everyday man, Ben Slanker takes outside. Home plate umpire Travis Carlson is just making sure that Marsh realizes that he can't come set without Slanker in the box. Oh! 2 ball, no strike count to the Ohio transfer Slanker. Has cooled off a little bit after the torrid start he had to begin his junior year. 1 for 10 at Duke last weekend in North Carolina. What do you think about that? 3 straight breaking balls to begin the at-bat.
Well, you know, we talked a lot about Slanker and how he's another really dangerous bat that makes this lineup so dangerous. And he can bat at the 7 hole, he can bat in the 4 spot. So I like you know, the idea there of Marsh keeping Slanker on his toes, and, you know, Slanker might be standing in there thinking, you know, I want my fastball, but Marsh not giving it to him.
Bounding ball to second with the overshift on. Eric Gion is there to make the play. They'll retire the side. Louisville does score a pair of runs in their first trip to the plate in this series. They've got a 2-0 lead heading into the second. Had a lot of fans put their hands together, just like that young kids do it. Fans are putting their hands together and clapping on all cylinders for Wyatt Danielewicz when he's battling with trouble. You see the numbers: bases clear, bases empty, opposed to bases loaded or bases with runners on. What do you feel like the main tenor of how he's been able to get out of damage has been this year?
Well, this is really interesting to me because, you know, ideally you'd like to think, hey, let's get our leadoff guy aboard. Let's get some base runners on. Well, what are you going to do with them, right? Wyatt Danielewicz is really good at locking in when guys get on base. So for Stanford, obviously, stay aggressive. But once you get guys on base, find ways to bring them around and manufacture those runs.
Speaking of locking in, J.J. Moran is at the plate. Had that stellar play at third base to turn 2 in that 2-run first. With the bases loaded, nobody out. Turned the double play on Byram Hott to mitigate some potential further damage for the Louisville lineup. Check swing. He did go around, according to Travis Carlson. Baker applies the tag. Third strikeout for Danielewicz through an inning and a third. There's a look at Dan McDonald. Had a chance to talk with him earlier today. He had said he loves the black jerseys, inspired by the New Zealand All Blacks. He wants his guy on Friday to be a dude wearing those black jerseys. And Danielewicz has showed the ability to be that dude to open the series so far this year.
He absolutely fits that description. Listed off some of the names that wore those black jerseys and just the symbolism of what it means. Character and the culture of this Louisville program, and he fits the mold very well.
Like in the early traditions of the uniforms to the 2017 year, the Brendan McKay Golden Spike season, the Reed Detmers All-American campaigns, now currently starring in the majors. 30 pitches for Danielewicz through an inning and a third, matching up against Brady Reynolds for the first time today. Everyday starter last year as a sophomore. He's been starting routinely this year as a junior. Waves and misses through 92. Danielewicz is dealing through an inning and 2/3.
Draws the second strike with a fastball, produces the swing and miss, and goes right back to it. Says, I dare you to catch up to this one. Gets his 4th strikeout of the day.
He had 3 strikeouts in his entire start last weekend in Durham at Duke. Already exceeding that today. Ethan Hott unable to hold up at the plate.
I mean, these are pitches that these guys, I don't even think, you know, the Stanford team is really thinking hit right now. They're trying to time it up and they're trying to track it, but they're thinking, oh, this might hit me. By that point, it's too late. You've already gone all the way around, and now you're committed. Now you're down 0-2.
Hott stings it up the middle past the extended Elam in the center. 2-out single for Ethan Hott extends the second. Second knock of the day for Stanford's lineup.
That's exactly how you want to cool off Wyatt Danielewicz right there, riding the energy of back-to-back strikeouts. And one of the natives of that 2023 Stanford team that made a trip to Omaha and Hott. Able to quiet down the crowd, cool off Danielewicz, and get a big 2-out single.
He extends this frame for Luke Lavin. Playing in the reserve role last year, Lavin as a backup catcher and first baseman due to some injuries in the infield is getting more of a chance at the corner spots in 2026. When we talked to David Esker about some guys who he's challenged about rising to the occasion as well, with Jimmy Nadai being out this weekend, he had mentioned Luke Lavin and Ethan Hott to try to extend the lineup to keep the respective innings going. Flies it the other way to left. A wind-aided fly ball, shy of the wall. Griffin Crane is there to retire the side. 2-out single for Hott goes through not. We're halfway through 2 with Louisville leading by 2. Georgia Tech, and then on Saturday the series finale with first pitch at 3 Eastern on the ACC Network Extra. All games also airing live on the ESPN app. First top 5 series in Atlanta since 2009. The table setter didn't disappoint yesterday. A 3-1 lead for Florida State. Georgia Tech responded back in the 9th inning with their lead in jeopardy. A 1-3-2 double play with Chase Williams being overzealous on the base paths ended the game and preserved Georgia Tech's ACC leading 10th straight win to set up the second game of the series later this evening.
Such a crazy finish. The 1-3-2 double play for Georgia Tech to get out of it alive. How about the firepower, the name power in this series? And you see the game recap there from last night. 3 in the 6th inning. Ultimately, it was Drew Burress, the game-winning RBI single. But you think about some of the names in that series. Drew Burress, Von Lackey, number 1 catcher on D1 baseball, rightfully so, slashing a very impressive slashing line. For Florida State, Trey Beard, junior left-handed pitcher, part of the Golden Spikes midseason watch list. It's going to be exciting.
Kane Elam could be a really exciting draft prospect in a couple years for the Cardinals. Just a freshman this year, but he's really stood out for Dan McDonald's lineup. Bounces on the ground to third. Moran off the deflection, guns it across to retire Elam to begin the second. Some of the top draft prospects for the upcoming 2026 draft. Rock Chalowski at UCLA has all but solidified himself as that number 1 prospect in Westwood. The numbers he's putting up in the Big Ten. Grady Emerson, not sure if he's going to make his way to Austin next year with where he's projected. Very shortstop-heavy draft list this year with a couple outfielders and starting pitchers as well in the top 10.
Yeah, tons of talented shortstop in this group, and Kyle Peterson was talking about it a little bit earlier this week. But it's the year of the catcher in his mind. We just mentioned Von Lackey and so many good others, but really exciting when you think about this shortstop group. LeBron is in there. Just saw Chalowski at the top of that list, rightfully so. A lot of exciting stuff happening around the landscape.
Well, speaking of exciting, something that a lot of fans get a chance to see with Stanford is the revolving door of pitchers utilized. May evoke a sense of excitement for families watching and for those who have a pitcher on the team that may see a lot of appearances in a weekend. Colt Peterson makes his 12th appearance of the year after Quinton Marsh got roughed up in his first frame of work. George Baker stays alive with the count holding 1-2.
And Marsh did a good job in that first inning. Could have got a little more out of hand. Louisville definitely could have poured on a couple of more, but Marsh and crew were able to keep it as just a 2-run deficit, and with tons of time left. You're going to want to hang around this range as you try to battle back. A little ice cream there. Not as sunny as it was all day long. Got some clouds moving in now, but
hey, it's still a little sticky outside.
Yeah, no, and it's a baseball game, if you're not getting ice cream or something at the ballpark.
Davis pounds the rock up the middle for a base knock. He's got a 1-out single in this second frame. So Stanford pitching, as we talked about just a little bit earlier, not a typical starting relieving dynamic with starters not really being the key starters, more the opener. But either way, Numbers pretty similar for both. Something that you also notice, a lot more innings out of the bullpen. It's not typically a recipe you see for success in baseball.
And I think that's part of Coach Esker's philosophy with going to his bullpen so much is, hey, we give up 2 runs in the first inning. Well, what the numbers say about our bullpen and how they give us really good work, so why not go to your bullpen and try to alleviate some of the pressure that the opposing team is supplying?
Ball outside to Zach Davis, the freshman shortstop. There's Dave Esker, 9th year as Stanford's head coach. Longtime West Coast baseball head man. Longtime coach at Cal. Nearing a decade at Stanford as Davis flares it to right field. Playable for Reynolds with Baker in between second and first. Throw back to the bag. Just late. Nearly picked him off. The hit and run was on. And Sasaki a little slow getting to his moorings with Baker running into him at the bag.
And Baker wanting to stay aggressive on the chance that this ball got down in the outfield. Oh, caught his cleat there. You can see the discomfort for Sasaki. This look will show you. Right foot of Sasaki. Trainer will go out and make sure he's okay. Looks like he is. Tough player, going to take more than that to keep him down.
And battled a lot of injuries playing high school baseball in Japan, despite setting the high school home run record. And told Japanese media that one thing that he really wanted to work on was to maintain consistency with staying on the field. Did not miss a single game last year at first base. Gave a lot of credit to the athletic training staff at Stanford over his first year and a half of playing college ball. We're 2 outs into the second, and the Louisville lineup flips back to the top with Griffin Crane. Singled and scored the game's first run as part of that 2-run first. Errant throw over the top of Sasaki. That's into the netting. Automatic advancement for Baker on the E1.
Throw just gets away from Peterson. Sails it a little bit out of the reach of Sasaki. Baker trots on down to second, and now base hit could get Louisville a big 3rd run.
Two and 0 the Crane with a possible 3rd run of the game standing at second base. Batting average just shy of 500 this year with runners in scoring position for Crane. .458 clip. Lucas Moore would hit next if the inning continues. Crane pounds it left center field toward the gap, and McDonald is there tracking it down on the run to retire the side. Louisville threatens but comes up empty. Stanford dances out of traffic to conclude the second here at Patterson Stadium. 2 runs on 4 hits. Get a little cheese on those nachos as well. Louisville has had a couple delectable chances through 2 frames. Stanford hasn't had much of a chance to bite into Wyatt Danielewicz through 2 innings. He's got his strikeout stuff working for him with 4 Ks through 2 innings.
I mean, he's the one that's cooking right now, even though we just saw the chefs on the grill. But Danielewicz clinging onto that 2-run lead. And, we talked about his 7 scoreless performances. If he can replicate that again here versus Stanford, 2 runs will be plenty. Obviously, if you're Louisville, you're going to want a little bit more. But you don't got to give Danilevich too much.
Ball went up high. The Court McDonald made that play in left field to rob Griffin Crane of what could have been his second hit of the day. Rocked in the right field. That lands into the outfield turf. First time today, Stanford's got the leadoff man aboard, and it's a single for McDonald to begin the third. It's been a bit of a shuffling act for Louisville's starting pitching staff. Wyatt Danielewicz and Ethan Eberle have gone back and forth between the Friday spots, but the numbers for Danielewicz to every other starter for Louisville, those aren't just random numbers. That's a stark contrast between Danielewicz and the other 2 starters in the rotation.
And you're going to need somebody else, maybe not the level of Danilevich, but somebody that can kind of come into their own role and share that rotation spot with Danilevich to complement him if he goes out on a Friday. Who's going to go out on your Saturday? Okay, who's going to go out on your Sunday? There's so many different scenarios if you win or lose on Friday that set up the rest of your weekend.
Rentaro Sasaki takes a breaking ball up high. Struck out to begin the game in the first.
And you know, when Notre Dame was here in Louisville not too long ago, we talked about, well, they got Jack Riddell and Ty Uber. They have a chance to win any series with those 2 guys pitching. So if you're Louisville, you definitely want to find your second fiddle, if you will, to Wyatt Danilevich.
Ball inside, the Sasaki counts 3-0. That is one thing, too, that Dan McDonald talked about with us earlier today. He said there are a lot of similarities with last year's College World Series team and this year's team, and he specifically pointed out pitching, saying there were a lot of shuffling of cards last year, no pun intended, with guys who earned a lot of starts, some injuries, some other pitchers who worked their way into more high-leverage roles. He sees a lot of that this year, and he said talent-wise, there's not too many teams in the country that can compete with this team talent-wise. That's a strike. Sasaki still in the driver's seat, 3-1. And he did point out Danielewicz as well, taking that step from being a high-leverage guy for a legit CWS team last year to anchoring a rotation. Counts full. Three-two. That's up high. Sasaki struck out in the first. In the third, he gets Danielewicz with a walk. One of 3 batters in the Stanford order today with more walks than strikeouts.
Let's go. Come on now.
2 on and nobody out for Teddy Tokheim. Had a double in the first. Arguably the top freshman hitter in the country.
He's just got such a nice swing. You know, that's one of the easiest things to notice first about a player is just their mechanics and their swing. And Tokheim, he looks every bit of a junior who's getting ready for the pro level, but he's just a freshman. It's tremendous the talent this kid has.
Punched foul back behind us, 0-2. Among college freshmen at the Division I level, that'll get the job done. Number 1 in slugging percentage, OPS and extra base hits. Tied for second in home runs and batting average. Tokheim stings it out towards center field. Moore slipped on the turf, racing in. Shows off that speed to make the grab. A 70 grade speed on the MLB Draft Scouts, showcasing the legs in the outfield to prevent disaster from happening.
Tokheim not really able to get the extension he would like there. And watch Lucas Moore here on this angle. First step is back, slips a little bit, thinking, oh man, I gotta go get this thing, and ends up on his body again as he leans in and dives for that one. And if it's someone other than Lucas Moore out there in center field, Casey, that ball might be getting down.
Eric Gion unable to check his swing. Dustin Field says he broke the plane. He walked in the first and was caught between first and second base in the rundown to end that first inning, where Stanford had runners on the corners and 2 outs. Ball on the strike to Gion. Ivy League transfer from Columbia, playing his first year on the West Coast with the Cardinal. Call it a dream come true, the return back to California to play for the Cardinal. A kid who grew up in Fullerton, was essentially born and raised at Sunken Diamond going to Cardinal games. That's outside, he's in the driver's seat. It's not typically easy to leave an Ivy League school, but when you do have a chance to go to Stanford to continue a business degree, I mean, it doesn't make it that much harder. Princeton, check that, Columbia, Stanford. Flies it in the air, shallow right. Infield fly is in effect. Ela makes the catch. And after back-to-back base runners began the third, Danielewicz has induced a couple quick outs.
And what were we just saying about Danielewicz? When the bases are empty, there's more opportunity statistically, if you can believe that. And when runners get on base, he finds a way to get out of it. So 2 get on, and he finds 2 quick outs, just following the trend that he set this season.
With 2 gone, Charlie Bates has a chance to put Stanford on the board. Struck out looking in the first inning against Danielewicz, who leads all ACC pitchers in strikeouts looking so far in 2026. .455 average for Bates with runners in scoring position. 2-0. Runners go. That's a strike throw. The third is late. McDonald's first stolen attempt of the year successfully swipes third, and Stanford's first run of the series is a base away.
Risky running on George Baker, especially from second to third, but the good jump and a good slide in that throw. Byram Hodges to step up a little further than he would like to get to that ball.
High and tight. That comes up and hits Bates on his top hand. A lot of ride into the lefty hitter. And for the first time, Stanford's got the bags juiced. With Danielewicz for the second time today, battling with runners in scoring position. Roger Williams makes his first visit out to the mound to talk with his senior southpaw. Join us on Sunday for a pair of ACC softball series finale in the next chapter of the Commonwealth Clash. 12th ranked Virginia Tech battles 21st ranked Virginia at 4 Eastern. Then at 6 Eastern Sunday night, NC State hosts Cal at Dale Softball Stadium in Raleigh. Both games are streaming on the ESPN app and airing on the ACC network. Can anyone catch the Florida State Seminoles? 25 consecutive wins, 12-0 in ACC softball play. Lonnie Alameda's got a true contender this year to win it all in Oklahoma City. J.J. Moran with the bases loaded made a spectacular play defensively in the field in the bottom of the first. He's got the bases loaded and 2 outs in the third with a chance to get Stanford back into this game. Takes a called strike.
This is where you'd like to see some aggression from Moran. 2 outs, bases loaded. Danilevich's pitch count starting to run up there. So, like we said, if you want to get the Louisville starter, in this case Danilevich, out of the game, you got to jump all over him in moments like this.
0-2. .429 average this year for Moran with the bases loaded. Oh, 2. McDonald at third, Sasaki the tying run at second, Bates the go-ahead run at first. Check swing, appeal to first. No swing according to Dustin Fields.
Did in fact hold up. He kind of gave his own call there, saying, no, I did not go.
Even the rain coming down here at Jim Patterson Stadium. Can J.J. Moran bring the rain? Fisted left field, falling fast. That's down, base hit. McDonald scores. Sasaki from second, throw to the plate is late. J.J. Moran comes through. Saved runs defensively in the field in the first, and he ties the game in the third with 2 outs.
A moment that we just talked about, high leverage moment early in the game. Moran is able to take a pitch inside and just do exactly what he needs to do, finding some open space, brings around the tying runs, and Stanford could get out of this third inning ahead should they string together a couple more.
Had 2 hits in all of the series against Clemson last week. He's got his first hit of this weekend against the Cardinals staff. Brady Reynolds has a chance to give the Cardinal their first lead of the series. Pitch count slowly climbing for Danielevich. 63 through 2 2/3. Oh, 2.
He's got 2 strikes again. That game-tying single for Moran came with 2 strikes, so it's not over yet for Danilevich. You gotta put this away right here and keep it a tied game.
That's down. Baker keeps it in front of him. Flown into right field. Ben Slanker looks up at the wall. That ball is gone. Brady Reynolds lifts off. With 2 outs, Stanford plates 5, and the Cardinal have a 3-run lead in the third.
Let's go. Get it right.
to tell you, Casey, this ball does get launched off the bat. But that gust of wind that blew out towards right field could not have come at a better time. You see the bag there flowing on the field, just showing you where the wind is going. Stanford catches it at the right time. And it's a 5er here in the 3rd inning for the Cardinal.
Louisville jumped out to an early 2-0 lead. Stanford has responded second time around against Danielewicz with 5. Call coming with 2 outs. Ethan Hott had Stanford's first 2-out hit of the day back in the 2nd. He takes that down to even the count. Well, literally and metaphorically, when it rains, it pours here in Louisville when it comes to the success and the demise of the Louisville pitching staff this year. When they're on, they have been untouchable. When they're off their game, almost everyone has taken advantage.
This is the 3rd consecutive batter now where Danielewicz has been able to get to 2 strikes. But twice in a row now, he's been unable to close the deal. Bases are empty now. Damage has been done, but you got to get out of here as the rain continues to pour.
Luke Lavin waits on deck in the event the inning continues. Channel your inner Forrest Gump. The rain's coming everywhere. From up top, sideways, all that's missing is from below. It's as if it was coming up from the bottom. Bounding ball left side, foul, trickling wide of 3rd. Payoff again. Inside, delayed call from Travis Carlson. Hott works a walk. He's on board for the 2nd time with 2 outs.
It's a little bit low. I see why Danielewicz and George Baker wanted that call with 2 strikes, but it is a little bit low in it.
Luke Lavin steps to the plate. All 9 Cardinal hitters have hit in this 3rd frame. Inning that started with a Cord McDonald hit. Stanford has the fewest stolen bases in the ACC with Notre Dame. They do have 1 today. Came earlier in the inning. Throw back to first from Baker, nearly airmailed Davis on a ball that was borderline, and they call it outside, 2-0.
Drop it on him, let's go!
76 pitches for Danielewicz through 2 2/3. 2-out, 3-run home run from Brady Reynolds, the big exclamation point in this 3rd inning for Stanford. First ever meeting between these 2 teams. A perennial power in the now defunct Pac-12 in their 2nd year to the ACC, trying to make waves. A month into the conference slate, that is outside. Lavin works a walk. And for the 2nd time in the inning, Cord McDonald steps to the plate.
Stanford has completely blown this 3rd inning open. More opportunity. They're trying to stay under that pavilion and keep dry. And you know they're going to want more. 5 is great in their minds, but they would love a 6th, 7th, or maybe even 8th run if they can manage it.
Louisville sends a couple bodies to that right field bullpen. Rain has subsided a little bit with that big cloud burst kind of working her way over to the east. Not quite all the way done, but that's a strike to McDonald. It doesn't look that wet outside.
Easy to say from our vantage point.
We're all made of water anyway. What's the big deal? What are we, like 60, 70% water?
I'm sure our camera operators would love to hear you drop that one on them right now.
No ball and 2 strike count to McDonald with 2 on and 2 away in the third. First pitch of the day for Danielewicz outside. And thrown back-to-back 7-inning masterpieces. Got roughed up in Durham last week against Duke, and so far Stanford has had his number in this third. McDonald broke the plane. He strikes out to end the inning, but Stanford does damage with 2 outs, putting up a 5 spot in the third.
Reynolds getting a hold of one, watching it fly out beyond the right field wall. Stanford takes a 5-2 lead.
Missed a ton. Stanford with 2 outs played at 5 runs, including a 3-run, 2-out home run from Brady Reynolds, forcing the fans to take shelter from the rain up above here at Jim Patterson Stadium. Speaking of rain, Stanford is not afraid to rain down a bunch of arms out of the bullpen. 3rd inning in the field, 3rd different arm to toe the rubber, with Brock Kettleson making his first appearance of the series.
And once you go to it, if you're Coach Esker on the side of Stanford, once you go to your bullpen, well, now you're committed to playing that style of baseball for the rest of today. So everyone in that bullpen kind of understands, what the message is, what their job is. Every pitcher in the bullpen knows what their job is, but for this Stanford squad, they're so intertwined. You saw the graphic that the bullpen usually gives a little more production than starters. So Coach Esker not afraid to play this game at all.
Top 100 prospects coming in the college baseball this year in the 2025 class. 28th ranked freshman in the land. Got a tall task in front of him. 3 batters due, 3 All-Americans for Louisville's lineup. Starting with Lucas Moore. Singled and scored as part of that 2-run first inning.
And I like the decision by Esker with Louisville going left, right for their first 3 hitters. Gives Stanford an advantage, trying to keep runs off the board now that they're ahead.
And one thing, too, with David Esker as well, when we talked about the pitching complexion, was there aren't starters. We've got guys who are going to be making 2 appearances in a weekend and guys who are making 1 appearance in a weekend. So you think of that and you typically think, okay, college baseball, you've got your weekend rotation, Friday night guys, Saturday night guys, Sunday night guy. But for David Esker this year, he summarized it as we've got guys who can throw twice in a series and guys who can throw once. Not quite the standard formula for any level of ball, but kind of the hand he's been dealt this year with the amount of injuries he's been toiled with.
And it speaks to his ability as a coach to manage with what he's given. And he just adapts. It is a little unorthodox to have that kind of style, but it's the Stanford way.
That's a strike. Moore goes down looking to start the third.
Painted perfectly on that low away corner. You might think maybe it was a little far off. We've seen a couple of pitches in that area get called a ball. Some others were a strike, but right there, Lucas Moore falls victim.
Zion Rose squares to bunt, lays it foul just outside the left-handed batter's box. Known for his home run pop, laying it down in the box, trying to catch the Cardinal off balance in the field.
Yeah, when you surrender a 5-run inning, you got to try things. You know, you got to mix it up a little. Everyone on the Stanford side is expecting Zion Rose to take a big swing here, try to get his team back in it. Sometimes you just got to throw a curveball from the batter's box and square to bunt.
RBI single for Rose in that first inning, drove in the game's first run. And Brock Kettleson, a part of this very young Stanford pitching staff. Not just young staff, but young team in general. Part of a growing trend in college baseball, Nick. High school seniors who are committed to playing high-level baseball, who play collegiate summer ball their senior summers. A lot of times you'll see kids play travel circuits as a senior in high school, prep circuits, and travel the country against other top prep circuits. The growing trend in college baseball these last 5-10 years, sending high school seniors to play summer collegiate baseball. That's exactly what David Esker did with Brock Kettleson, playing in the West Coast League last summer. Rose lifts it a mile high in the shallow right. Reynolds had the 3-run home run at the top of the inning. He makes the play in the field to retire Rose in the bottom of the third for 2 outs. Not only was he a two-way guy, Kettleson, playing summer ball, but he took home the WCL Prospect of the Year award as an 18-year-old who turned 18 midway through the summer last year. Imagine that, 17 years old, starting a summer circuit against college bats.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't think of a better way to prepare. There's so many avenues, there's so many lanes for these players to get time, get reps, and prepare for that next level. And you know, getting out there against college level talent is what gets you ready for the college level and then ultimately the pro ball level.
Second appearance for Tage Davis today, walked in the first. Speaking about getting some guys ready for pro levels, how about pitchers in the ACC? Talk about getting ready for the next level of baseball, whatever they may be, facing this Louisville lineup, specifically Davis.
They got big league caliber players, hitters, Davis being one of them. We've talked about so many others. Byram Hott knows the draft is approaching in the middle of a very impressive senior campaign. So it's what it's all about for these guys, is getting ready for that next level.
4 pitches to Davis, 4 out of the zone. He's drawn a walk for the second time.
And you know what? Stanford is perfectly fine with that, I can tell you right now. It's been very clean on defense. You get the first 2 outs of the inning, and Tage Davis comes up with the bases empty, 2 outs. Just put him on base. He can't hurt you if you take the bat out of his hand. So I like the idea there from Stanford.
With 1 on and 2 gone, Byram Hott steps to the plate for the second time. Maybe the rain getting to the breaking ball grip. A little bit harder to grip the baseball throwing with spin.
You know, I was thinking that, and you saw Danilevich lose control a little bit in that last inning after the rain really picked up. It's working so far for Stanford, but definitely a factor when it rains. The pitch grips definitely become a little more unstable. Just like that, pitch can get away and allow runners to advance.
Hott thought he was hit by the pitch. Travis Carlson says that was a live ball. The count on 2-0.
You can't quite tell. This angle might show. Goes over the left foot. Unsure if it catches that right foot there in the back. That bat continues.
So after a couple quick outs, Brock Kettleson has thrown 7 straight balls. And if Hott reaches, all of a sudden Ben Slanker represents the possible tying run. At That's outside. 8 straight balls have put 2 on with 2 gone in the third.
And this is why you can't walk hitters like this. It's been a problem all season for Louisville, and a warranted mound visit now for Stanford. But this is the problem with walks, is it gives life, right? If you're Stanford, just put 5 up on the board. Now you're giving Louisville life, making them believe that they can get back in it because you're putting guys on via the walk.
Thomas Eager's second appearance out to the mound. It wouldn't be on par for the course unless Stanford was getting a arm loose in the pen, just the way they pitch. Cassius Thomas getting hot in that left field bullpen with the mound surface covered with the rain. Just getting some long toss in. Speaking of on par for the course, you see what Rory is doing so far in his Masters defense?
I have. Yeah, I didn't check the leaderboard until late last night. I haven't had too much of a chance to look at it today. But what a time of year.
6-shot lead through 36 holes.
Really? Wow. Who else is lingering around the top there? If you know off the top of your head.
Oh, Reed's 6 below. If you want to say
gotcha.
Lingering around the top, Patrick Reed at 6 below. I mean, not sure if you can just say just off the top if you're 6 strokes below the
right.
leader on the leaderboard. That's a strike to Ben Slanker. Rounded out his first time up in the opening inning. Louisville is seeking its first hit with 2 outs today. They've got 2 on with 2 gone. And Ben Slanker at the plate against Kettleson. Slanker bounces it right side. Gian in the shifts. Easily across the first. And for the second time, Stanford gets out of a jam in the field. We're through 3. Stanford leads by 3 in the opening game of this 3-game series. Ranked Georgia Tech on the ACC network and streaming live on the ESPN app. The finale is Saturday at 3 Eastern, also streaming on the Watch ESPN app. Master class of a game yesterday for Georgia Tech, 10 straight wins, leading the ACC in longest active winning streaks entering today. Rintaro Sasaki in the leadoff spot steps to the plate for the 3rd time today against Wyatt Danielewicz, who labored in that 3rd inning, allowed 5 runs with 2 outs. Sasaki sprays the first pitch he sees wide of right field foul, shy of the bullpen. Last year, Rintaro Sasaki came to North America with much fanfare. It's not very often you see Japanese players forego the NPB, which is the Japanese equivalent of Major League Baseball. He did just that when he chose to go to play the college baseball route. He golfs it out towards center field. Moore is back shy of the track. Makes the catch just up against the wall. Sasaki flies out to begin the 4th. Made a lot of adjustments to American culture, learning the language, still learning the English language. Not quite fluent in his studies and also acclimating with his American teammates, but when he talked to Stanford head coach David Esker about why the numbers may not be where they're at, he said, well, if you see a guy who hits more balls 100 miles an hour off the bat that don't go for hits, you're probably going to come up shy of anybody short of Rintaro Sasaki. Speaking of guys who can hit the ball a mile per minute, there's Teddy Tokheim, double in the first. Soft ground ball rattled at the middle past the diving Davis in the center. 2-hit day for Tokheim. Hits in 13 straight. Adding to those possible Freshman of the Year laurels in 2026.
I mean, he's just such a natural hitter. And, you know, that one finds a hole between short and second base. Sometimes it's just your day when the ball is dribbling through a hole like that, but that just speaks to his confidence and his calmness and the way that he delivers in these moments.
Third appearance for Eric Gian. Fly out in the walk today for the Cardinals' second baseman. Takes a called strike. Limited due to injuries last year at Columbia. Played one game with the Lions, dealt with some flaring lower body injuries and then a hand injury on his batting hand. Ball and a strike.
Yeah, solo homer in Game 3 against Clemson, where he went 4 for 12 in the whole series. Another guy who Coach Esker said he's really proud of and has produced some really good at-bats for Stanford.
All Ivy League second team a couple years ago. Eric Gian as a freshman. And David Esker talked about that too, with kind of a double-edged issue with recruiting at Stanford, bringing guys in. Not quite as easy as, say, a power conference public school at the ACC or SEC level. The academic standards are no joke at Stanford, the words of Coach Esker. He should know, he's a Stanford grad. That's a called strike over the inner third. Gian is sat down for the second out of the fourth. Five punch outs for Daniel Evich through 3 2/3. Charlie Bates stepping in.
You know, you're absolutely right about, you know, the approach for Stanford when it comes to recruiting and how difficult it can be when you consider, you know, the multifaceted reputation of Stanford, sports and academics. It can be really difficult for some transfers, thinking, oh man, you know, we got to hold up this end of the deal, and for some it can be really difficult to manage both areas.
That's a strike in the Bates. Count evens at 1-1. And that is something too with Stanford. When you take a look at the two transfers they brought in between last summer and this summer, Braden Gentz, who's yet to pitch, Pepperdine transfer, Eric Gian, who we mentioned a moment ago, Columbia transfer. Not exactly easy schools to get into academically. And Coach Esker mentioned it too. He has lost potential recruits based off of what NIL opportunities are available on the farm compared to, say, other schools. Jeff Wing, bounder foul the third, counts 1-2.
And, you know, I don't think Coach Esker would be the only coach that tells you they feel that way. I think it's something they're all learning. And, you know, he would probably say moving to the ACC has delivered tons of challenges. But, you know, he's not alone in that boat.
Called making the move to the ACC like playing a regional every weekend. So far, Stanford's gotten off to a heck of a start in the hypothetical regional week in and week out.
Let's go, Lions!
Missed the postseason for back-to-back seasons, the Stanford Cardinal. A very proud program. Tokheim caught between second and first. Throw to second base is in plenty of time. Second time Stanford has made the final out of an inning between first and second. This ends the fourth. Midway through fourth, Stanford's lead remains at 3 here at Jim Patterson Stadium in Louisville. First with 2 outs in the third has gotten Stanford out to a phenomenal in the first of this 3-game series. Fourth inning on the mound for the Cardinal. Fourth different pitcher to toe the rubber. Cassius Thomas, the Duke transfer, makes his team-leading 15th appearance of the season.
And his job right now is to just follow suit, right? Louisville got those 2 in the first. Ever since, it's been radio silence from the Louisville offense. And that is exactly what Coach Esker is calling on these arms out of the bullpen to continue.
Looking at the complexion of Stanford's season, second year in the ACC, 1-3 in the conference. Had the chance to take a series at home against Clemson last weekend. Home runs have been a big portion of their offensive outbursts. 22 straight games with a home run, longest active streak in the country with that 3-run homer for Brady Reynolds in the third. RPI, not the most attractive looking entering today, with their best win coming against Clemson last weekend. Kane Elam digs in to begin the bottom of the fourth against Thomas. Senior from Los Angeles, Cassius Thomas, against the freshman Elam, one of the top freshmen in the ACC this year. Rounded out his first time up in the second inning. Talk about a wrinkle. Have multiple at-bats. First 2 at-bats of a series against 2 different arms. Line right to second. Gian is there. 1 second baseman lines to another to start the fourth.
Yeah, to your point about Elam facing multiple different arms through multiple different at-bats, that can be a little bit tricky for some hitters who see one guy pitch and then they're like, okay, I gotta come back up in this mindset, but then they have to change all of that as a new pitcher enters the game.
George Baker, the Louisville catcher, digs in with 1 gone in the fourth. Singled his first time up in the second inning. Well, speaking of tricky, it kind of summarizes in one word the path that Cassius Thomas had to take. I mean, he's a Los Angeles kid who dreamed of going to Stanford. He was part of that high school recruiting class during COVID where everything went haywire. Didn't have a chance to take any in-person visits. Never visited Stanford, although he wanted to always go and commit to Stanford. Took a chance and committed to Duke. Never went anywhere further east than Texas growing up. Went to Raleigh, was a part of a super regional run as a freshman. He was the first to say he had a lot of fun at Duke, as George Baker is a little bit slow getting back to his moorings. Cooler night like tonight, maybe those foul balls sting a little bit more.
Looks like I might have caught him, right on that knee there. He's going to take his time with the trainer, make sure he's okay.
Baker stays in the game, a guy that Dan McDonnell has lauded for his toughness behind the plate over the course of his season. Swing and a miss, Davis. Check that, Baker strikes out. First punch out for Thomas, puts up his second out of the fourth.
Goes right after George Baker here, challenges him with a fastball, and Baker unable to catch up to it. A really good job by this pitching staff from Stanford. Thomas following suit like we said he needed to. 2 outs and no damage done by Louisville.
Zach Davis squares to bunt, pulls back at the breaking ball. First inning, Louisville scored 2 runs on 3 hits against Quentin Marsh. Since then, they've got 1 combined hit against Colt Peterson, Brock Kettleson, and now Cassius Thomas. 2-0 misses up high to Davis. Hitting in the 9th spot for a 4th consecutive game in the absence of Alex Alicea at short. Griffin Crane would be next to hit if this 4th inning progresses. Three-1. From down 3-0 to working to count full. A Hard-throwing right-hander, Cassius Thomas. In search of a 1-2-3 fourth. That's down. Davis works a walk to extend the inning with 2 gone.
That's now back-to-back innings for Louisville, where the first 2 hitters made outs, and the third hitter got on via a walk. So now if you're Louisville, you got to be thinking aggression. You got to find a way to attack with 2 outs, get runners into scoring position, and sometimes you have to rally and make magic happen, even when the first 2 batters of an inning make outs.
Two-out chance for Griffin Crane. Singled and scored it in the first, lined out with 2 outs to end the second.
You got it started, you keep it going, kid. Let's go.
First ever meeting between Stanford and Louisville this weekend. Early 2-0 lead for the Cardinals. The Cardinal responded with 5 2-out runs in the third. Couple teams who have seen the start of their ACC seasons get off to a little bit less desirable outcome than they would have imagined. Both 1-3 in ACC series entering the weekend. Crane off the end of the bat to shallow left. There's Bates at short making the play. They'll retire the side. We're through 4 innings. We'll have a chance to talk with Louisville skipper Dan McDonnell on the other side here at Jim Patterson Stadium in the Bluegrass State. Season high 8 runs on 108 pitches through 4 2/3. A Stanford lineup that scored 8 unanswered runs. Daniel Ivich's day ends. Kason Murphy's day begins. First reliever utilized by the Cardinals this series.
You know, it's been the most undeniable area that needs improvement for Louisville, so they go to the bullpen now for the first time this weekend. Now it's going to be interesting to see what Louisville's bullpen can bring to the action, as they have a tall task, limiting runs, giving their offense a chance to get back in it. Murphy's been selected to get it started.
And the first batter he's tasked with sitting down is Rentaro Sasaki. Big in nature in terms of his frame, big with the sounds he can make off of his bat. Hasn't left the yard so far today, but his 9 homers this year showed the threat he possesses every time he steps in. A walk in the third has sandwiched the strikeout and a flyout for the Japanese first baseman so far.
Let's go, Gates. Get it in. Let's go.
Two-0. We had a chance to talk with Dan McDonnell earlier today. He says just naturally with the complexion of the Louisville pitching staff, a lot of lefties in the rotation, a lot of lefties out of the pen. There's a ground ball hit up the middle. There's Elam. Second chance today for him. Makes the play. The retire Sasaki. To end the top of the 5th, but Stanford plays 3 more runs. Midway through 5. We'll talk with David Esker on the other side here in Louisville. Runs to take a 6-run lead in the series opener against the Cardinals. First time we get to talk with Stanford head coach David Esker this weekend. Coach, gave up those 2 early runs in the first, have rattled off 8 unanswered. What have you noticed from the approach from your lineup so far today?
You know, done a good job against that lefty, and especially the left-handers who gave him some trouble. Home run and the Court McDonald, the big hit there in the 6th hole. So I thought the left-hander stood in there against him pretty well. He's tough. He's tough. He's got a good arm, and he locates well inside and away to the lefties. And so far, so good.
Coach, Louisville puts up 2 in the first inning. Ever since then, you've kept them off the scoreboard. What have you really liked from your bullpen today? They've come in and given you some really good work.
Yeah, they have. And, we're bringing them in one at a time and just trying to not give them too long to look at anybody. And, it's pitching by committee. It's a little bit what we have to do right now. But some of these guys will graduate to a few more innings along the way and give us some length. But right now we're using them as the best we can.
Hey, speaking of graduating guys to go in multiple innings, what was the decision making to letting Thomas be the first reliever to go multiple innings today?
Yeah, we kind of mapped it out. We want to let the 3 young guys go for 1, and then let Cassius, who's a senior, get the first shot at going 2. Hopefully it works out. It's only the bottom of the 5th, and if you've ever seen these guys hit, that top 5 is maybe as good as it comes in college baseball, definitely in our league.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate the time.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Second frame of work for Thomas starts things off with the All-American Lucas Moore, who guns it foul wide of third.
Let's go! Let's go!
First frame for Thomas in that bottom of the 4th inning. Walked a batter, struck out a batter on 16 pitches. Third-year Cardinal by way of Duke, Cassius Thomas, was a part of that recruiting class, which was fresh off of the 3 straight College World Series appearances. It's been an uphill sledding since for the Cardinal, especially the pitching staff, but Thomas specifically getting a chance to reinvent himself, kind of circle the wheels and find out who he really is as a pitcher. Moore bounces it left side, trickling just wide of third, foul. With the shift on, almost pounded it the other way, fair. But for Thomas, he was a part of the Baseball Playground podcast's roster of invitees last summer, and he was asked about where his mind was leaving Duke and heading to Stanford. He had said, Stanford is always where I wanted to be, despite Duke having a lot of success and making it to a super and seeing Stanford going through a bit of a transitional phase. He said his first choice out of high school was Stanford, but he didn't have the grades to get into Stanford. We talked a little bit earlier about the complexion to get in, as that's a strike to Moore. Strikeout number 2 for Thomas today on the mound. Imagine saying that to your parents coming out of high school, taking the SATs, showing your transcripts. Hey, Ma, I got into Duke. I wasn't smart enough to get into Stanford. And he had joked around with that. He said, the transcripts and the academics are no joke. I got a C for the first time in my life, my first year at Stanford. And I didn't know what to feel, whether or not I was really challenged or whether or not I should be impressed that I finally saw something that I couldn't really handle academically. That's down and away to Zion Rose.
Well, there's a parallel there, too, especially for Stanford, when you want to bring in guys who, obviously, they're there to play baseball, but you sit them down. It's, hey, you gotta hold up your end of the deal in the classroom, too, and apply yourself academically the same way you do athletically.
Can you imagine that, though? Waiting until your second year of college to get a C for the first time in your life?
Yeah, not me. Definitely more of those myself.
C's stand for college.
And they get degrees, I've heard.
No, well, that's a different letter. Spelling wasn't your strong suit, I guess. Sounding out sounds.
I wasn't a big spelling bee guy, no.
That's a strike to Rose at the top of the zone. You heard David Esker as well, trying to get some of his seniors extended. Second time this year that Thomas has seen a second inning through 2 innings against Wake Forest in early March, pitching into the second inning here in Louisville. Count runs full to Rose. 3-2. Popped up a mile high in the shallow center. Bates, the shortstop, the former center fielder, transitioning to the infield. Makes the grab, 2 out to quickly start the 5th.
Well, how about Thomas for Stanford coming in and, last inning surrendered 1 free pass to Zach Davis, but ever since it's been all quiet on the Stanford front, and it's because Thomas has been mowing him down. He's got a very tall task to get out of this inning, though, with Take Davis.
He's still seeking his first at-bat of the day. He grounds it right side into the overshift. Eric Gian is there. There's his first at-bat of the day, ending in the ground out. 3 up, 3 down, 5th, authored by Cassius Thomas. We're over halfway through here in Louisville with the Cardinal leading the Cardinals. All eyes will be on Charlotte in mid-May for the 2026 ACC Baseball Tournament. Louisville was projected to be one of the top contenders in the ACC this year. It's been a bit of a rough sledding for the Cardinals this year, 1-3 in conference play, or at least in conference series. No surprise, Georgia Tech is at the top of the ACC, 10 straight wins after their victory over Florida State yesterday. That's down to Teddy Tokheim to begin this 6th inning.
And that's the whole reason why Coach Dan McDonnell talked about last season, those grinds, those ACC weekends. Well, they got another one ahead of them right now with Stanford. This is going to be a grind of a series for Coach McDonnell. But there's many more coming on the docket. So taking something from each series and moving forward with a fresh mindset is key getting through the ACC.
Bounding ball the 3rd, Byram Hott over at the hot corner across the dime of the retired Tokheim. Excellent play by the Louisville 3rd baseman to start the 6th.
Byram Hott doing what he's done all season at 3rd base, positioning himself, working through that, getting to his feet. Good backhand. Take Davis had to get pretty athletic there and stretch out to make that play. Going back to talking about the ACC, that series I keep thinking of, Georgia Tech and Florida State. Doesn't get much better than that. 2 of the best teams in the ACC. Florida State got some good work out of Mendez last night, who was filling in that role that Jamie Arnold was in. Lost him to the draft, 11th overall pick last year to the Athletics.
Ball on the strike to Eric Gian. 0 for 2 today with a walk. Feel like there are any big surprises to you in the ACC this year? I mean, Boston College has looked almost untouchable at Chestnut Hill whenever teams go out east, but any other big surprises that you've noticed this year?
I was going to say Boston College. NC State has really been pleasing to follow. And just another team that is in the ACC, and it's maybe not the most flashiest team with the flashiest players, but just another team that'll grind you out over the course of a weekend, and they can steal 2 of 3 from a lot of teams.
Gian fans on a breaking ball. Or did he get a piece of it? Home plate umpire Travis Carlson says he just got a piece off the end of the bat to stay alive.
You saw the frustration out of Baker there as he was trying to just squeeze it, hold on to get a big second out. Murphy's got to go back to work. The Stanford dugout holding up 4 fingers, signaling that they may have been, they think that was ball 4.
Hell of a job, Casey! Let's go!
Second full inning of work for Murphy. First full inning of work, second inning overall. Faced one batter, got one out at the top of the fifth. Flown the other way to right, fading foul. Slanker runs out of room as that tails in toward the bullpen. First ever meeting between Stanford and Louisville. So far, the Cardinal has enjoyed the last 5 innings after surrendering 2 early runs. Gian goes down swinging. Murphy's got his first strikeout of the day.
This is not an easy out for Louisville. Gian produces so many quality at-bats, fouls off so many pitches. Great eye. The breaking ball there from Murphy. Triumphant. Big strikeout.
Charlie Bates takes a strike. Converted center fielder, the shortstop this year, has made a spectacular handful of plays over the course of his sophomore year, including a couple today. Something you see a handful of times, usually in minor league ball or for high school prospects playing pro ball. Chipper Jones immediately comes out to mind. Center field prospect moving to the left side of the diamond. One-two. Off the end of the bat, gun to center. There's Lucas Moore in center to make the grab. Clean 6th inning for Cason Murphy. Midway through 6, Stanford's lead remains at 6. For their last 5 innings at the plate, Stanford has been all dominant so far. In that first inning, Wyatt Danielewicz was dealing, got out of some jams with a couple strikeouts. Zion Rose drove in the game's first with an RBI single, remaining hot at the plate, hitting over 500 over his last 4 games in ACC play. Then the third came around for Stanford. Pieced together back-to-back 2-out hits. This 2-run single from J.J. Moran tied the game at 2. And then as the rain came down, Brady Reynolds poured the ball over the right field fence to cap a 5-run third inning. And then in the 5th inning, another big spot for the Cardinal, aided by a costly two-out fielding error by Kate Elam, scored another 3 runs. That's where we're at right now, with Stanford leading Louisville 8-2, entering this last of the 6th. Cassius Thomas was nearly untouchable in his 2 innings out of the pen. Cohen Gomez, one of the top relievers for David Esker in those high leverage roles, comes in to get some crucial outs down the stretch.
And it's only going to get more difficult now for Louisville because Coach Esker is now going to the arms that he counts on to win big games. Gomez, O'Haron, Moore, some of the names that you're going to see a lot this weekend, I would imagine, in situations that demand performance late in the game.
Odd guns and foul behind first base. Walk and a ground out for the third baseman so far today. And that is something that David Esker mentioned. He tagged guys not as starters or relievers. He labeled guys as 2 appearances per weekend and 1 appearance per weekend arms. And he definitely listed Gomez as a 2-appearance guy. 2 outings against Clemson last week and gave up 3 runs and 2 in the 3rd. A pair of games that he felt like his team could have won in that series at home against the Tigers. Counts full to hot. Took a big swing at that left field fence. the shoot. Hot goes down at 92.
A couple of Louisville hitters tonight have just been getting stuck on the 2-strike counts, trying to get something going. Stanford dugout loving it. Can't seem to catch up to any of these arms out of the Stanford bullpen that has been so sound so far tonight.
Ben Slanker is grounded out to second twice today. That's down. Looking at the numbers for Stanford's arms today, you've seen Quentin Marsh a moment ago in that bullpen reaction. 1 inning for Marsh as the opener, 3 hits, 2 runs since 1 combined hit for the Cardinals lineup. And you heard David Esker as well earlier in the broadcast with us. Something that's really caught on with college baseball, the kind of that midweek game type atmosphere where you throw multiple guys in the game. Not typically seen in power conference games and weekend series, but mostly in midweek games you see that.
And you got to work it your way. You have to understand your team, understand your staff. Again, he doesn't break it up into guys who can start or come out of the bullpen as that one's popped up.
On the infield, there's Sasaki. Get a little darker up top in the sky. A little harder to track that ball with the top spin. Couple quick outs.
Somebody's got to get it started, kid. Let it be you. Let's go.
And this bullpen, once again, under Coach Esker. 2 outs, nobody on. It's looking very clean. As we were just talking about, that's the understanding he has of his club. It's not about who can start, who can close, who can go multiple times on a weekend, who needs to go just 1 time.
0 for 2 day for Kate Elam so far. Ground out in the line out. One and one. Costly fielding error at second base in that 5th inning. That 3-run Stanford 5th. And it's not as if Stanford is relying on the strikeout stuff as well to get some of these outs too, Nick. 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. Louisville's putting the ball in play, but a lot of weak contacts. That's flipped the other way to right field. Reynolds chasing after it on the track. He makes the catch shy of the wall. Elam gave it a ride, furthest of his day, but he comes up shy of leaving the yard. 3 up, 3 down frame for Stanford. We're through 6 here in Louisville. Working our way into the 7th here in Louisville. The Stanford bullpen has been the story today. 5 innings, no-run ball for Cardinal relievers. 4 strikeouts as well. Speaking of relievers, Kason Murphy is on the mound for his 3rd inning of work. He starts J.J. Moran with a breaking ball inside. Casey Rowland, Nick Zanetti with you. So glad you're tuning in. First ever meeting between these two teams. Louisville scored first and 2 in the first, and then it's been all Stanford since. 5 runs in the 3rd, 3 runs in the 5th. Ball on the strike to Moran.
Hell of a pitch, Case.
Wyatt Danielewicz, back-to-back rough starts. Got tagged in Durham last week against Duke. And the Stanford lineup, piece by piece. Got that pitch count raised in the 3rd. As Moran flips it out toward left field. Crane makes the grab in a sinking line drive. The retired leadoff man in the 7th.
Call that hitting into the scouting report a little bit there. That ball expected average, maybe close to 600, could be 700 or 800. But when you're positioned correctly, sometimes the stats will lie to you.
People forget there are also outfield shifts. You typically look at the infield shifts, see all those over shifts, but lost in the fray, a lot of outfield shifts. Reynolds guns it out toward left center field the other way. Crane makes the grab. Couple quick outs. Join us on Saturday afternoon here on the ACC Network for a pair of lacrosse matchups. First on the women's side, 11th ranked Clemson hosts 18th ranked Duke at noon Eastern. Then at 5 Eastern, second ranked North Carolina puts its 5-game win streak on the line in South Bend against 4th ranked Notre Dame. Both games also streaming live on the ESPN app. Ethan Hott takes in the turf. The base is clear and 2 down in the 7th. Last time he was up at the plate, had that controversial no hit by pitch reversed to a hit by pitch that led to a bit of an extended delay. Big part of that 3-run 5th inning. Hott bounces it up the middle with the overshift. Elam glances off the tip of his glove. That's the second time a ball is glanced off the webbing, and it extends the inning in the 7th.
And you just can't afford to have this. Elam knows it. More than anybody, you got to make these plays. These are routine ground balls. And Casey, you were just talking about Danilevich's day and how they tagged him up a little bit. Stanford did. A couple other things could have gone his way, and that was one of them. A couple of sloppy errors from his defense allowed for more runs to come across.
Luke Lavin grounds it through the right side into the outfield. Hott takes a wide turnaround second. He's in the 3rd. Runners on the corners, 2 outs.
And see, now it's happening again with an inning that should have just ended off that ground ball to Elam. Now Murphy's got to work with runners on the corners, and another base hit is another run now for Stanford. And it's just those kinds of mistakes that make it all the much harder to win baseball games.
Team that Dan McDonald has called very sound defensively this year. Has liked the way his team has played defense. A couple of crucial errors by his keystone player today. Breaking ball down to Court McDonald, working on a 2-hit day today. Pair of singles have sandwiched a strikeout. Train's making some noise beyond the outfield fence. Can Stanford make some more noise at the plate? Can they keep the tracks moving? 2-0. Just so you know that there is a train going on, or at least coming to a screeching halt beyond the outfield fence. As that's flared foul back behind us.
Always picking a good time to move through center, right center field beyond the wall there. There it is.
Louisville got off to a racing hot start, came to a screeching halt since the 1st. McDonald is a ball away from potentially loading the bases with the top of the order looming on deck. Throw over the first, and Lavin's back in there.
Louisville has found their way out of a couple of different situations just like that, catching the first base runner out in no man's land. Maybe thinking about getting out of this inning the same way.
That is at the top of the zone, called strike, counts full.
Let's go, Cards, clap it out!
Payoff pitch. Flair the other way, dropping foul into toward the Stanford bullpen. In the event McDonald reaches, Rentaro Sasaki would be next to him. Sock foul wide of first.
Show what you got, kid. Let's go.
3-2 again. High and wide, bags are loaded. And in steps Rentaro Sasaki with a chance to potentially put the final nail in the coffin in this series opener.
Just need one more, kid. Let's go, Casey.
Situationally, last week, Stanford left a lot on the table against Clemson. With 2 outs today, they have made their names known. 500 clip with 2 gone. Sasaki takes high for ball 1.
And credit to Stanford for putting up those numbers, but again, going back to some of the errors Louisville has committed, especially here in this 7th inning. It's what has allowed the bases to get loaded for Sasaki. Louisville's dealing with a situation they shouldn't have to deal with.
A ball on the strike to the Japanese first baseman. 9 home runs amidst his sophomore year, already surpassing what he did as a highly touted freshman last year. Sasaki guns it out towards center field, but playable for more. Camp Center, and the bags are left full for Stanford in the 7th. A costly error at second by Kate Elam does not cost the Cardinals. It's time to stretch here in Louisville with Stanford leading by 6. SEC games. Join us on the ACC Network at 2 Eastern tomorrow in Chestnut Hill with Virginia Tech traveling to Boston, shipping up to Boston to battle the 23rd ranked Boston College Eagles. All games also streaming live on the ESPN app. How about those BC Eagles? Todd Interdonato's got a little bit of a program growing out there. 11-1 in Massachusetts this season. Tough sledding for Virginia Tech to make that trip out east, especially with the momentum BC has gathered.
Yeah, and you asked me earlier if anybody from the ACC had surprised me. Gave NC State a little bit of love. But Boston College, man. I mean, what Interdonato has been able to do with that team over there in Boston, guys like Nick Wang, Jack Toomey, they have put together something to be very proud of and something that they might start to run with. In the next couple of years, you might see them climb their way to the top of an ACC conference that's already maybe claimed by the likes of UNC, Florida State, Georgia Tech, but it's these kinds of teams that you're going to have to keep an eye on. You know they're going to look to run with it in the next couple of years.
George Baker swings and misses. He strikes out to begin the 7th against Cohen Gomez. ACC in the top 40 in the RPI. 7 teams represented. Florida State leading the pack. Georgia Tech right behind them. Talk about a series with a lot of eyeballs in Atlanta. Game 2 is just underway. North Carolina, Virginia also in the top 20. Here's a look at Dan McDonnell. Had a chance to talk with him earlier today. Nick, you had mentioned it too about how dangerous the ACC can be if some of those not quite blue blood programs are competing, but are also making a run and a leap for regional contentions. Coach McDonnell with us talked about, jumping into the ACC initially a couple decades ago as Zach Davis flies it the other way towards right field. Brady Reynolds is there to make the catch. There are 2 outs, but Coach McDonnell talked about the biggest difference between his original, say, handful of years in the ACC to now is you knew who was going to be a contender his first few years in the league, but he did point out the Pitts and the Boston Colleges and the Virginia Techs and Virginias and saying, if those teams can really compete with the addition of the West Coast schools, if they get back to what they were in the Pac-12, the ACC could be very deep come 2027, 2028.
Yeah, it could be the gauntlet that college baseball runs through, and you could even argue that right now with some of the teams we saw at the top of that graphic. If those teams, like you mentioned, round out the rest of the conference, I mean, it's going to make for even more of a grind than Coach McDonald has talked about it being.
Terrific Crane sprays it wide to left.
Last season wasn't easy. This season hasn't been easy. And if you think about some of these teams that are going to keep improving, it's only going to get more difficult. As you see the rankings broken down by conference, the SEC, I mean, take your pick there.
Bounding ball off the top of the plate. Moran playing in the shift. Guns to the cross to retire Crane. 3 up, 3 down against Cohen Gomez. Stanford is up by 6 runs. They're 6 defensive outs away from taking the series opener in enemy territory in the Bluegrass State. Spectacular showcase in Duke last week. 15 strikeouts, albeit taking a loss on the bump. Slated to grab the rock for the Cardinals tomorrow in the middle game of this 3-game series. 2 o'clock Eastern, his first pitch in this first ever series between Stanford and Louisville. Dan McDonald goes into his Louisville bullpen. The Zane Stahl, the freshman, getting a chance to pitch in this 8th. Nick, a player that you're really high on coming out of the pen.
Yeah, he's just an exciting player to watch, and making his 9th appearance so far this season, he has gotten acclimated very nicely. Another one that came to mind, we were just talking about, Brandon Shannon. May not see him tonight, but would bet anything we'd see him maybe Saturday or Sunday. But it's another one of those arms that Dan McDonald believes in, knows he can be a household name, and in his young freshman career, sky's the limit for any of these arms in the Louisville bullpen.
Speaking of sky being the limit for a freshman, Teddy Tokheim is working on a 2-hit day. Double in the first, he singled in the 4th. Two and one. And Coach McDonald mentions not wanting to have specialists in certain situations. I mean, he said Ty Stark has essentially become a lefty specialist, but Stahl has kind of quietly become a specialist in a sense. He's thrown 1 inning in all but one appearance this year. That sprayed wide to right, counts full. No earned runs in his last 3 appearances entering this series. 3-2. Tokheim fans on 93. Numbers for Stanford and Louisville haven't been the most eye-popping in terms of success with ERAs. Both teams bottom 3 in the conference in ERA entering the weekend.
Well, you know, good coaches like Dan McDonald and Eskers. That one's ripped down the left field line.
Eric John around first. He's in the second base with a double. First hit of his series. The second baseman is on second with 1 gone in the 8th.
Back to what I was saying about the pitching. Good coaches like McDonald and Esker are always going to stay in front of the drawing board. It's an area that you never really get away from, no matter what part of the season you're in. And you get to this stretch, we talked to Dan McDonald today. I asked him, you know, what excites you the most about this part of the season? And he's like, the grind that you've already been through and the grind that you're going to continue to go through. But that starts with improving your areas of improvement. And for Louisville, both of these teams, really, it's definitely the pitching.
Charlie Bates is seeking his first hit of the day. Bounding ball up the middle. Cade Elam at second has had a couple errors at the keystone spot. Easy play, the record of the out. Reductive ground ball moves G on the third, and with 2 gone, it's up to J.J. Moran to get the job done.
That's good to see from Elam. It's a breath of fresh air for him mentally. You know, to everybody else who's watching, it may just look like a routine ground ball, but until you're out there on the diamond and you've made multiple errors, you don't understand how daunting a routine ground ball looks. So it's really nice to see Elam just simplify the moment, pick it up and throw it to first like he's done 1,000 times in his life.
Ball 1 down to J.J. Moran. Two-run single, a part of that 5-run third, tied the game with the rain pouring down. Rain has subsided and completely ceased to this point. Ball to strike. This is where Stanford has done a lot of damage. 5 for 11 with 2 outs. Can Moran keep up his 2-out magic that he's had so far today? Two and two. Where's this 2-2 have to be to keep this a 6-run game?
I would try to work low as far as inside outside, whatever works for Stahl, but I would try to keep this low, make it ground ball contact, don't give him anything to drive.
Moran golfs it to third, and Hott is there. One third baseman lined sharply to another to end the top of the 8th. Remains a 6-run lead for Stanford. Can Louisville's bats come to life in the 8th? For Stanford on Louisville as we play into the 8th inning. All 3 innings that have seen runs being scored have been scored in bunches. 2 runs for Louisville in the first, 5 for Stanford in the third, 3 in the 5th. It has been all quiet since then. Both pitching staffs have settled in. Stanford up by 6 runs. 6 defensive outs away from taking this series opener. Cohen Gomez is back in the bump for his 3rd inning of relief. One of the top guys in David Esker's pen, looking to get 1 step closer. Lucas Moore grounds it to first. Rintaro Sasaki positioned perfectly. Makes 1 step over to the bag. 1 pitch, 1 gone.
That's just been the story of the night. If you could put the story of tonight in 1 pitch right there, Casey, I think it would be that one right there. Just Lucas Moore rolling over, grounded to the right side. Easiest play of the night for Sasaki over there at first. And it's just those first pitch outs can be the whole difference in any inning. If you get the leadoff batter out, it can change everything. Now, when you're Stanford and you make a lot happen with 2 outs, it may not be the case, but most times you'll look to get that leadoff batter out and control innings.
Zion Rose takes down. And Nick, you talk about the leadoff base runner reaching. Louisville has had 1 leadoff base runner aboard, and that was that first inning where they scored 2 runs, back-to-back hits to start the game.
And it's not shocking that they haven't found any offense outside of that first inning. This Louisville team, the identity really, lifted in the air.
Gian playing traffic cop. Brady Reynolds makes the grab. A couple quick outs. Just beyond the keystone spot over at second base.
It's been a busy
Eric
position
Gian.
tonight. It's been busy on both sides. I feel like a lot's happened over there.
What do you think this conversation is about, down by 6 runs?
You know, I think it's a coach talking to his best hitter and just saying, hey, you know, you got it every single time you step up there. I don't need to say anything to you to get you going, but I think that conversation in this moment, Coach McDonald just has to see something, and he just wants to pull aside his guy and say, hey, here's what I see. I'm not sure what's going on inside the mind of Dan McDonald. Boy, I'd just love to know. I'm sure everybody would. But must be noticing something that he wants Davis to notice as well. Maybe trying to spark a rally here in the 8th inning with 2 outs.
Overhand breaking ball lands for a strike. 2. Unlike the complexion of the first handful of innings, that bullpen for Stanford completely quiet.
And if that's what it looks like in the 8th, 9th inning, then Esker knows that his guys did their job because they've gotten them to this point, and now they're trying to ride it all the way.
Davis goes fishing, throw the first. Have yourself a night, Cohen Gomez, his 3rd strikeout. 9 up, 9 down for one of the top relievers in the Stanford pen. On to the 9th here in Louisville. Can the Maryland Terrapins get it done this year in the ACC? Runners up for back-to-back years. As we play into the 9th, Joe Olson becomes the 2nd reliever used for the Cardinals, who the big story has been offensively, no hit since the 2nd. Can they keep this a 6-run game entering the bottom of the 9th to give the Bats a chance? And it's Olson towing the rubber. And he gets a pinch hitter. Tatum Marsh steps to the plate, his first at bat of the series.
Right here, 2 out, let's go.
Ball went up high. When David Esker mentions this team and mentions what Stanford needs to look like to be successful the next handful of years, he was quick to mention Tatum Marsh, a quote-unquote forgotten All-American from last year's freshman campaign. He's a 49-time starter. Offensive numbers haven't been there so far this year. Mentioned that the drop-off has been mysterious. It's nothing that's immediately jumping out to him in terms of what the mechanics are at the plate. Maybe just a little more cosmetic changes that may need to be made. Because that's outside from Olsen, 3-0. Mentioned how there's just a lot of pressure on freshmen to follow up that freshman year going into their sophomore year. That's outside. Marsh draws a 4-pitch walk. Number 4 is aboard against Joe Olson, a freshman from Chicago. Pitching in a mop-up role here in this 9th frame. 5th outing of his year.
And it's critical for Olson to come in and give Louisville some clean work here in this 9th inning because, you know, we've seen Louisville put up 6 runs or more in an inning in the past. Got to give them a chance to try to do that in the bottom of the 9th inning, but first you have to complete a clean 9th.
Ethan Hott takes a strike. Been on base 3 times today between a single walk and a hit by pitch. Both starters got roughed up today. Quentin Marsh, Tatum's younger brother, who's over at first base. And Wyatt Danielewicz for the Cardinals. Hott couldn't hold up, counts 0-2. And David Esker mentioned with us too, Nick, about Jimmy Nadai, his absence this weekend with his quad injury, about who would be someone that would lengthen out this lineup. You look at the bottom third of the Stanford order, 4 for 8 so far, hitting .500. Low throw, nearly evaded Davis.
And when you can get that production from the bottom of your lineup and give the top of your lineup more of a chance to come up to bat, because the top of the lineup typically won't come up with too much opportunity on the base paths. But you give that leadoff hitter, the second hitter, the third hitter a chance to bat with 1, maybe 2 runners in scoring position, you can really open up a gap on offense.
1-2. Fisted foul back behind the press box. The Arizona kid, Ethan Hott, from just outside of Phoenix, didn't play in the 2023 run to Omaha. One of the last remaining remnants from Stanford's Pac-12 days on this current roster. Inside, Hott hit by a pitch. Second time he reaches on an HPP. Third fewest times hit by a pitch the Stanford lineup entering today. I think they might be climbing up that leaderboard after this evening.
A little bit. They've had more than a couple guys wear some pitches. And it's those moments that have just bit Louisville all day long. It's been the two strike scenarios, Casey, that I've really noticed is where Louisville has come up short. You know, giving up that home run in the 5th inning. Or rather in the 3rd inning. Came with 2 strikes. A lot of the opportunities Stanford has capitalized on today have come with 2 strikes.
Roger Williams makes his second visit out to the mound. Talk things over with Olsen. Wanting to reset some pitching to close things up. Tomorrow is the second game of the series, 2 Eastern first pitch. Sam Garwal gets the ball for Stanford. Ethan Eberle toes the rubber for Louisville. Right here on the ACC network and streaming live on the ESPN app. First ever series between Stanford and Louisville. Second year Stanford's been in the ACC. Last couple weekends for Louisville here at Jim Patterson Stadium. Bit of a first in a sense. Hosted Pitt 2 weeks ago. First time the Panthers made the trip to Kentucky in 9 years. First time Stanford's ever played in this ballpark. Luke Lavin lays down a bunt, cues it foul wide of third.
And Coach McDonald has talked a lot about the importance of the Friday matchup and winning on Friday. You know, if you come up short on Friday, then you're putting just more pressure on your Saturday, Sunday starters, your offense for the rest of the weekend, because you have no more room for error. You win the Friday matchup and you drop Saturday, okay, we show up on Sunday for the rubber match. But you fall behind on a Friday night, and the rest of the weekend becomes even more pressure-induced.
Lavin jabbing at a bunt, down 0-2. Not typically one you want to see on bunt attempts to move runners over, jabbing at pitches, especially pitches with spin. Oh-2 fisted out toward right field, over the top of Elam and in between Slanker. Station to station base running Louisville and a jam in the ninth. Stanford's loaded the bases with nobody out.
And again, 2-strike hitting. 2-strike capitalizing, I'd call it, for Stanford all night long. We were just talking about Louisville getting to that knockout punch, applying the jabs, throwing the jabs, getting 2 strikes, getting 2 outs. But Stanford, time and time again on their final breath, just finding a way to evade death.
Second hit for Lavin, third different Cardinal hitter with multiple hits today. Or McDonald is one of those batters with multi-hit performances this evening. Singled and scored in the 3rd, singled in the 5th, walked his last time in the 7th. In tight. Did McDonald go around in the swing? And it is also a foul ball. It's 0-2. Wave and a miss on a breaking ball. First strikeout for Olsen. Ends a streak of 3 straight reaching. Well, Nick, you talked about the importance of winning on Friday to open an ACC series. Louisville hasn't had that success on Fridays so far. I mean, you look at that Notre Dame series to open up ACC play, last 3 weekends, a loss to open a 3-game weekend.
And that's just been the case. You know, you drop that first game, you come back to win those next 2. It's a tall task. You're not going to do it every time if you drop Friday series normally. So for Louisville, yes, it's a 3-game series and you have to be ready and fresh all 3 days, but you can't be late to the party. You have to show up ready to play on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Rentaro Sasaki tees off to right field. How far is that going to fly? A Sasaki bomb to right field. A grand slam puts an exclamation point on the first ever meeting between these two.
All right, Joe, let's go.
Listen to this, Casey. As soon as he made contact with that ball, he knew good and well where it was landing, and it was not inside of Jim Patterson Stadium at all.
Japan's all-time leading home run hitter in high school baseball overseas drills his 10th one of the year. Dan McDonald's out of the dugout. It looks to be the end of Joe Olson's day. 393 feet off the bat of Rentaro Sasaki, 104 miles per hour with the exit velocity. That'll get the job done.
That'll do it.
Showcasing the muscles.
Yeah, that'll do it for sure.
Stanford has flexed its muscles with 12 unanswered runs. Louisville goes back to the bullpen. 4 runs in an ongoing 9th. Pitching change here at Jim Patterson Stadium. Late in this one. Was the rubber after Joe Olson was tagged for 4 runs after 1 out recorded. Being asked with getting a couple quick outs to give Louisville a chance to hit in the bottom of the 9th, just down 10.
We were just talking about how Olson needed to give Louisville a chance to get into the dugout, only down 6. Even though that seemed unlikely, it was surmountable, but now a 10 spot in the 9th inning is a lot to ask for from your offense.
Rentaro Sasaki with that grand slam put Stanford up 10. Couple of the top prodigious power hitters in Japanese high school baseball history. That's Rentaro Sasaki on the right. If you've been living under a rock for the last decade, that's Shohei Ohtani, otherwise known as maybe the greatest baseball player to ever live. Sorry if you're over 100 years old and you got to watch Babe Ruth, but I don't think the Babe could do what Shohei is doing in 2026.
And I thought Sasaki's stance looked a little familiar, and the way he fills up that batter's box and takes his swings, it is very, very reminiscent and similar to that of Shohei Ohtani. And what a cool story, what a cool picture. A role model from such a young age. Speaks volumes to the way you see Sasaki carry himself, and it's a big reason why.
Ball one in the turf to Teddy Tokheim. 2-hit day for him in the 2 spot. And for Sasaki as well, I mean, passing Shohei Ohtani's all-time high school home run record for a fellow classmate as well. Not quite classmate, but same alum from the same high school. His dad was Sasaki's coach, a revered high school baseball coach in Japan, where essentially the whole country shuts down for Koshien for an entire month. Tokheim golfs it out towards center field. Moore on his horse at the track. He's at the wall. It one hops the base of the fence. Tokheim's in the second with his second double of the day. There's grown-up Rintaro Sasaki. There is high school Rintaro Sasaki with his father Hiroshi on the right. Participating in Koshin, a national high school baseball tournament where legends are literally made and never die in the island nation. There's Yusei Kikuchi with the Chiba Lions back before he was in Major League Baseball. You have to think his dad's Rolodex is probably a who's who of Japanese baseball royalty. Eric Gion takes down.
I was just thinking, it's funny we saw him with Kikuchi there, because we were talking about the similarity in his stance and his swing with Ohtani. I think Sasaki could go out there and maybe give you 6, maybe 7 scoreless innings, and maybe he's really doing his best Shohei impression.
Well, I mean, he's got to do the stolen bases and then jump on the mound and pump 100.
A couple other realms to conquer, but I'm sure in his mind he's on his way.
That's down in the way that Gion. It's not quite the same situation, but the A's, they signed Shotaro Mori last year. He's a high school prospect, not quite Rintaro Sasaki where he elected to forego the NPB to play college, but a high school prospect from Japan. He's a two-way guy who's got some of those same Shohei similarities, but that's a strike, 2-1. Definitely an emphasis on all-around baseball in Japan. A baseball-crazed nation that absolutely loves the game.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome to see the way the culture has grown over there over the course of so long and the international effect.
Bounding ball up the middle. Elam backhands behind the bag. One second baseman grounds to another. Tokai moves to third base. With 2 outs, it's up to Charlie Bates. Been on base twice via hit by pitches. 4 hit batsmen today for the Stanford lineup. Bates has been hit twice. Ethan Hott has been hit twice.
Don't let up, kid. Let's go. Keep working.
Oh, 2. Joe Olson got this inning started. Jake Greger is seeking to conclude the 9th with the Cardinals only down 10. Possible 13th run standing at third. Called strike 3. Bates is sat down looking for the second time today. But Stanford firmly in front, up 10, entering the last of the 9th.
Rintaro Sasaki got around one and showed why all that time with Shohei Ohtani paid off. Sent it into the night in Louisville, Kentucky.
Grand slam has given the Cardinal a 10-run lead, 12 runs on 12 hits, featuring 2 home runs, 2 runs, 4 hits for Louisville. Torin O'Haron is called upon by David Esker to get the final 3 outs in the books. He starts things off with Drew Freeman grabbing a bat as a pinch hitter who sprays it foul back to the screen. What might be equally as impressive, Nick, is the 12 runs, 12 hits for Stanford. 1 hit for Louisville since the first inning.
That is unbelievable.
Freeman takes a breaking ball down and away. Count evens up and a ball and a strike to the freshman from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. High school baseball powerhouse, won a couple national championships, was teammates in high school with Roman Anthony, Boston Red Sox standout, World Baseball Classic all-tournament teamer for Team USA a couple weeks back. outside, 2-1. Three balls and a strike to Freeman against the senior Torin O'Haron. Those last few remaining pieces of that 2023 Pac-12 championship run for Stanford. That's outside, appeal to first. Freeman held up. He's aboard with a leadoff walk. Second time today, Louisville's put the leadoff man aboard. First in the opening inning, now in the ninth.
We said they got to do it more. Sure, they wish they did it more today as they face this 10-run deficit, but that's what they give you Saturday and Sunday for. You look at Friday, what do we need to do better? Get the leadoff guy on more. Okay, we tweak our approach and we find out ways to get guys on base.
Back-to-back pinch hitters for Louisville. Jack Heisel grabs a bat off the bench. He takes a called strike. He alluded to Rentaro Sasaki's family heritage in baseball. Jack Heisel also with some notable family heritage in the game of baseball. Down 0-2. Grandfather Larry was a 14-year big leaguer, was a hitting coach for the Blue Jays in the 90s, part of that back-to-back World Series run the Jays had in the 6. Didn't play at Duke last weekend. He flies it the other way to left field. McDonald started in, ranges to the line to make the grab. Stanford's 2 outs away from taking the opener. Looks like Louisville's keeping the train going with pinch hitters down 10 runs. Colin Mowry steps in. Third catcher on the Louisville depth chart. Getting a chance to hit here. Takes a strike with a breaking ball at 83.
I saw some of Mowry last season. He split time with Taggart Tyson, former Louisville catcher behind the plate, who transferred out of the program. And now Mowry's sitting behind Nugent and Baker. Slaps one to the left side.
Moran goes to second, no play at first. Fielder's choice goes 5-4. Louisville's down to its final outs. And the pinch hit train continues for the Cardinals. A.J. Martin grabs a bat. 10th AB of his season. The transfer from Charleston Southern was an All Big 12 All Big South honorable mention last year with the Buccaneers. Didn't hold up, 0-1. Louisville scored the game's first 2 runs. Stanford has played the last 12. They're a strike away from winning the first ever meeting between these two schools. One, two. Martin just gets a piece. 4th different school he's been a part of, these Louisville Cardinals. Played 2 years of JUCO ball. Playing out his final year of eligibility with the Cards. Showed some pop last year playing in the Big South. 12 home runs, 53 runs driven in. Count holds. Nick, where do you feel like the complexion needs to be for Louisville to kind of reset for tomorrow?
You got to understand that Stanford has a very talented bullpen, and you can jump all over the starter, but it doesn't matter if you can't keep runs off the board and put them up yourself.
Martin lines to third. Moran is there, and that ends it. In 3 hours and 18 minutes, the Stanford Cardinals take the first ever meeting against the Louisville Cardinals by a 12-2 final.
Yeah, and for Saturday and Sunday for Louisville, it's going to be limiting those innings of long damage. You saw Stanford string together a ton of offense in a couple of different innings. So with that mixed with the power of this bullpen, they're going to be a tall task for Louisville.
Sam Garwal gets the ball for Stanford and the chance to win the series tomorrow. Ethan Eberle for Louisville hopes to push it to a rubber game. 2 Eastern, first pitch, game 2 tomorrow. For Nick Zanini and our entire ACC Network crew, I'm Casey Roll saying so long from Jim Patterson Stadium. Stanford takes the opener against Louisville by a 12-2 final.